do to fix the world, what was the first thing he started with? He started with the family. You look at the life of Jesus. Jesus spent 30 years of his life with his family. Mostly when we come to Mass on Sundays, we hear about things that Jesus did during the last 3 years of his life, maybe the last 3 hours of his life. There's not very much given to us about what he did in the home with Mary and Joseph. The fact that he lived in the family unit for many years is in itself a message to us the importance of the place of the family in the plan of God. Most of us were raised in families. Many people, of course, are still in family situations. They are maybe raising families, or children, I should say. Many people have had families, or have children who have families. I remember one time a woman was wondering why does the church have such a stress on families. Well, families are very important. The family unit is the most basic cell, really, of civilization. Family unit precedes the state. Families have been around since the beginning of the human race. Family was designed by God based on the union of husband and wife. He made them male and female and said, go forth and multiply. Families, in many ways, are really the key to the future of society and civilization. People are humanized in the family context. We're all, in some ways, beneficiaries of family living. Now, the Holy Family was a unique and exceptional family for different reasons. One of which was, of course, that Our Lady and St. Joseph lived in a marriage that was never consummated, but that was because of the unique vocation of the Blessed Mother, that she was to become the mother of people such as ourselves in the order of grace. She would have as her other children men and women and down through the centuries who were disciples of her Son. She was to be both an icon of motherhood and consecrated virginity. And the Church has produced many people who have embraced both forms of life. St. Joseph, of course, was not the biological father of Jesus. But to all appearances, when the Holy Family was around, the family appeared to be a typical type of family. In fact, one of the criticisms against Jesus was, is not this the carpenter's son? Little did they realize that Jesus was the Son of God. Yes, his foster father was a carpenter, but people at the time really didn't know the circumstances surrounding this particular family. We do. The Holy Family, although unique and distinctive and exceptional in many ways, was not immune to the challenges of life. St. Matthew tells us of one of the first big adventures was to flee from King Herod and his campaign to kill the baby Jesus. So Joseph took his family into Egypt, which was a foreign land, ordered that Our Lady and her son be protected. So one of the titles of Joseph is protector of the church. You can pray to him even today, and many people do have devotion to St. Joseph. St. Joseph allowed for the presence of a father in the home at Nazareth. Fathers are very important. Our society does not necessarily embrace responsible fatherhood, which is unfortunate. It is very important for people to recognize and support the place of fathers in families. One of the things that happens when families tend to be fatherless is very often they're left impoverished, which is a sad thing. It's a very difficult thing for people to be single parents. sometimes people live heroic lives and raise their children alone. So we need really to be supportive of families, and particularly encourage our young people to embrace the call, if they're called to be people who raise families, call to marriage and family life. We live in a society today that is ambivalent about family life. In Europe, there are 48 countries. Every single one of them is below the total replacement rate fertility-wise. In other words, people have this idea that having children or more than just a couple of children is undesirable. That is not a Christian mentality. We have to pray for people to be open to life, open to having families. The Lord calls people to marriage. This is a very important aspect of married life. Marriage is a community of life and love. And so much impinges upon marriage and its health and family life in our country and throughout all countries. It is necessary for us to reach out to families in need on different levels. I'm very happy to help in any way that I can regarding any particular family that has some sort of issue that's pulling family members apart. I don't suggest that I can solve everyone's problems, that is the point, but sometimes the parish priest is a good first step in coming to some sort of resolution. The biggest issue, perhaps, in maintaining family unity is the fact that everybody in the family has inherent weaknesses brought on by our fallenness as a human race, the effects of original sin. This is why it's so important for families to live the faith, to practice the faith. Because in doing that, people are bringing God into their home. And for children to listen to their parents requires the children be virtuous and humble enough. And then recognize that Jesus listened to Mary and Joseph when he was growing up. And for parents to be responsible with their children and not lord it over their children, but to take care of them while not allowing the children to run the household. Children can't do that. To properly discipline children without being harsh on the children is a kind of an art form, I suppose. People need to be virtuous, and sometimes people make mistakes. I know that one of the things that can be a factor in the life of many adults is when they were growing up, maybe they were mistreated sometimes. Parents are weak people. We're all weak people. People make mistakes. They've never really gotten over it. Some people don't realize maybe that they were never sufficiently loved at home. It's important for parents to love their children and to manifest it, to show it. We have Pope Francis, of course, who caresses children and so forth, which is important to do. Parents don't hesitate to do that. And of course, if a child needs to be corrected, the child should be corrected. There's a school of thought today that children should not be corrected about anything, or very seldom. That isn't really the case. Discipline is not yelling at children. Discipline means learning. The children learn. The person who disciplines teaches the children. Teaches the children. Sometimes there are consequences that must be meted out because sometimes children can be stubborn. But so be it. Good parents have to deal with the children, the tendencies that children have to do their own wills. But in the course of time, it pays off. Children grow up and become very responsible members of the human family. And from families come many blessings. From good families, vocations to the priesthood, perhaps, or religious life, or vocations to being good, solid, practicing members of the faith. And people then are prepared to go out into the world and start their own family. People generally enter into marriage with their family background intact, so they learn much from their mother and father as to how to raise their own children. So it's important for people who have families to take very seriously the responsibilities before God, to bring the children to God. I talk to parents with some regularity about this. I don't know how many people believe what I'm telling them. Some of the younger parents might think I'm saying things just because I'm a priest and I'm supposed to talk this way. But it's all true. People have godly homes. It makes all the difference in the world. Now, I recognize the fact that there are adults, solid practicing adult people, who are lamenting the fact that they have had children, they did their best, and the children aren't even living their faith. Well, adults of this type should not blame themselves for it. They did everything they needed to do. The children, when they become adults, are accountable to God for how they're living. We must pray for them. Recognize that God desires their salvation more than we do. Pray for them, support them, show them the way. And they may come around. Many people come back to their faith largely because they had the faith when they were small. They had a home environment that supported the faith. So the best thing to do for families is bring the Lord into the families, because the Lord can do marvelous things for families. Pray, learn to get along with each other, forgive each other. St. Paul says we must do that. In fact, there is one writer that says regarding married couples, this is his opinion, I think there's some truth to it, husband and wife should forgive each other every day, because sometimes things happen and one partner doesn't even know that you hurt the other one. Cannot live in a community life that has any redeeming quality to it where there is resentment. We have to get rid of all resentment. And the key to that is Jesus. People live lives of faith. It makes all the difference in the world. It's the best thing people can do to their families. Whatever other difficulties they have, it could be financial difficulties or health problems or whatever it is, faith is extremely important. Live the faith, embrace the faith. And it does always have an impact on other people. The most challenging task facing anyone in this life is the task of living in community quarters, living with other people, dealing with people, listening to people, taking them seriously, serving people. These are all things that people learn from the family. So families are extremely important. Today, there are challenges against the family that perhaps have never surfaced before. The government is unfortunately one of the players in challenging the integrity of the family unit with certain welfare policies that do not encourage people to actually be married and have children and different things of this type. So we have to pray for people in power. As King Herod was out to destroy the little child, sometimes people get into power and they have agendas that are detrimental to family life or to marriage. Our government no longer supports or defends the Defense of Marriage Act, which protects the union of a marriage as being constituted by a man and a woman. Why? Why is the government turning its back on the only institution that can give any real substance to society? There are many reasons for it, I'm sure, but not good ones. So we must have confidence in the family, support the family. If we live in the family environment to do our part, make the home what the Lord wants it to be. And ultimately, of course, families come and go. You're called to be part of the new family, which is the communion of saints. But that is really based on how we've lived in community in this world.